Oh, well. Oh, good afternoon, Jared. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today and a few minutes early as well. So thank you for that. Um, yes, and thank you also for submitting your report on time. That was quite important. That was really great because it gave us the time to actually read and feedback and have some thoughts concerning the things that you've been doing. So thank you very, very much for that. So I'm going to pass over to Jerry for a moment. She's got some questions for you, and then we'll come back, and then I have some more questions for you, and then we'll develop in that direction.
Yeah, that's great.
Um, yeah, hi. Hi, Jabe. Okay, our first question is about mental health ambassador. So we want to know by when will you know if the university has reviewed necessity and what will you do to follow up?
Yeah, so I haven't followed up with the university, particularly for these, um, promise, because I was busy with the other things and I was doing it. And so university informed me that they have recruited student staff, which can be a substitute of the mental health ambassador that I proposed. So if those student staff can do the things that I initially wanted them to do, like raising awareness, helping students, or creating support networks, then I think I'll be happy if the university goes with this approach. But obviously, I have to follow up with the university to see what's their plan with the student ambassadors or student staff they have recruited, and then I can propose them my plan again. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now our question is increase the number of counselors. So you do you see four as a sufficient number given the increase in anxiety and depression, especially among young people since COVID?
Sorry, I don't get to your question.
I mean, do you know that now you have four counselors? I think
Yeah.
you said. So do you think that is enough? Sufficient number given the increase in anxiety and depression, especially among young people since COVID?
Yeah. So before COVID or previously, even before my campaign, there was two counselors, and currently they have increased it to four. And the university is saying that that's enough, but to find out whether if it's enough for the students or not, I have to go back to the students again and check. I mean, how the mental health team are responding to them. Are they able to make quick response within a certain time? And so yeah, for that question, obviously I have to go back to the students and I have to find out whether the students need more or not. If you
Okay.
have any suggestion or if you have any information you think that will be helpful, please feel free to suggest me, and I'm happy to work on this.
Yeah, because Judith, that is the other girl that do this, she said that she knows some people that try to reach out and they don't get replies when they need them.
Yeah, there was some other information information university gave that sometimes when students reach to mental health team, all of the time they don't need to go to the counselors because counselors are for um, for certain kind of area. Maybe it can be dealt with without before going to the counselors. Maybe there's some other service they have, or maybe some of their student ambassadors or some other advisor from their team. They can help with a lot of the issues. So that's why you know yeah. So that's the scenario from the mental health well-being team actually. Yeah. And the information you have mentioned, if you can just pass me more information on this, and obviously I'll have a look, and then I'll reach the university again and see how they're dealing with this issue.
Okay. Nan, do you want me to carry with the two questions? Yeah. Okay. Um, when interactive on live resource, uh, when have you proposed the idea and where will you be following up?
For this one again, I haven't followed up because I was busy with the other project, but I just proposed them, and I haven't heard back from them, and I haven't got the time to follow up on this one.
Okay. So, for Green Ambassador scheme, term 2 has started. So, you gave it a red score. Does that mean you disregard the goal, or what would you find a different approach to making it reality? For the Green Ambassador scheme, you know that is in red. So, are you going to disregard the goal, or will you find a different approach to making it a reality?
So I haven't started working on Green Ambassador as well. So last year I worked on some other sustainability area. For example, Green Week campaign. I've done it for 1 week, and then I worked on bicycle scheme. So I think I have also included this in the report. So the current solution the university provided that they can include this bicycle scheme as their long-term strategy, and for that, university is not like this that you go with something they're gonna do it straight away for you. So they will put this in their strategy for or policy for next academic year, and the budget needs to come from the university obviously, and they inform me that it will be only possible for next academic year. Yeah, but yeah, it won't be possible for this year. And for the Green Ambassador, I haven't started working because of my workload with other projects and other works. But whenever I'll get a little time, I'll check. I mean, if there's anything can be done this year.
Okay, I think now I have some questions for you.
Okay. So from those things that we've just discussed, something that I would definitely say is definitely undertake that follow-up, because those are some things that we don't want you to let go. Yeah, definitely follow up with the university on those specific things. So I think you mentioned about the student staff that have been hired by the university. That would basically mean that you don't need those mental health ambassadors. So I suppose what would be helpful is just, well, probably by next panel, we'll probably put this in your actions, kind of seeing the impact of that. Because if they can take up and fulfill all of those things that you had in the vision of you having a mental health ambassador, then that is a positive thing. But it remains to be seen whether that will actually take place. Yes, okay. So then in terms of the bicycle scheme, I know you mentioned that it's going to be part of the long-term university plan. Do you have something that's like a definite commitment from the university? Do you have it in writing? Do you have something that you can actually hold to them and say, hang on, you said this a few years ago. Can you actually, do you have something that you can use to show them that it's being done?
Yeah. So I have the full communications with the university current green travel manager. So yeah, obviously it can be used as an evidence, and yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. Then, of course, with Green Week, you mentioned, well, the Green Ambassadors, sorry. You mentioned that you haven't really had so much time to focus on that just because of other projects that you're working on. So we'll definitely follow up with you on that, and find out the outcome of that eventually. Okay, so I noticed that you did make a note that you said that you're not going to push for that weekly chair for meetings regarding like eco team just because of the kind of low membership, low kind of engagement. So is there anything that you plan to do to increase engagement with and interest in eco team?
So I don't have any plan because obviously this is a staff and student network. There's nothing as an officer I can do. Or the best thing I can do, I can facilitate. I can the room or whatever they need. I can arrange this, but obviously I can't run this because it needs to be run by students. So since there wasn't much interested students to run the eco team or come to every weekly meeting, even I have reserved one of the room for last whole year yeah, student didn't show up, so there's no point to block one room. Other student group might can use those rooms for their activities or meetings or whatever they do. So yeah, this is the reason we have stopped it now. And from the university sustainability team, one of the student staff from their team was supposed to help me, but recently she also dropped out, and I think they are gonna recruiting another student staff for helping me with the eco team. And yeah, I don't know where about her, that they have recruited or not. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So thinking about this in the long term, okay, so perhaps the meeting doesn't need to be weekly if there's no like actual demand for it. Maybe it could be monthly or something. Because like you said, it has to be student led and there's only so much that you can do about it. But then I'm thinking about some of the work that you've been doing with cultural societies and driving up engagement in that way. Is there something similar that you can do to, locate interest for those who are interested in this type of stuff?
Yeah, so back to last year, I did the Greenwich, and unfortunately, for in-person events and activities, there wasn't much participation. So I can do it again, another one, but I'm concerned that there might not be participant because maybe because of the topic, maybe people acknowledge that sustainability is something we need to work on, but they just don't want to spend their time on this working on. Yeah. So currently I don't have any plan, but um, if I see that students will take part with this kind of engagement, element of or the events, then definitely I can plan on that time.
Okay, cool. So from that, what we're getting is that that's really not so much in your list of priorities anymore, just because of the student response to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We can work with that. Okay, so you said that you're working on a flexible installment proposal for fees for international students.
Yep.
How's that going?
So basically, I started working on this last year. A lot of students anticipated that they won't be able to pay their tuition fees. Obviously, the international students from all our campuses, a lot of them from Medway as well, and from Greenwich, obviously. So then they contacted me and our advice team. So initially, we approached the university to increase the deadline. So they extended the deadline for another month at the end of February, but they asked us to not to make this information public, not to make this information public because that can create a backlash or more problem in their department. So obviously we didn't make it public, but I hope still it helped lots of students who are not able to manage their tuition fees initially. They were able to pay, and still there will be a lot of students who won't be able to pay. So yeah, I'm not really sure yet how to help them at the moment. Probably I need to talk with the advice team and other staff of the university. And regarding the installment issue, so um, from the advice team again, they are looking for other universities, which other universities are providing flexible tuition fees, options. And luckily, our team has found some of the options, and now we have drafted a installment flexible installment policy. And tomorrow I have a meeting with our advice team regarding these, and then we'll look into all our suggestions or proposal, and then we'll send it to the university, and then we'll see how they're gonna approach our proposal. Yeah, so the system will be, there will be around 6 to 8 installment every month, by every month. So I think in this way student will have less stress on them, or they will be able to manage to pay. And our current system is you have to pay 50% on the registration time, and the next 50% you have to pay by term 2, by the beginning of term 2. So sometimes it's really difficult for students to get this buck amount when there was other like issues in their personal life or family life. So for that reason, so yeah, if the university agrees with this flexible installment, that will help to retain a lot of international students, and it will also help to reduce the mental health stress for students as well, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think so that's something that we'd probably be interested in finding out the outcome of. So how that goes will be quite interesting to know. Cool. Okay, so you attended a meeting with I think Centaur concerning the whole Medway bus fiasco. And what were the outcomes of that meeting, and what are you going to do with that information going forward?
Okay, so in the center meeting, basically, I raised some of the feedback which I got from students. So there was one day, one of the bus didn't showed up at all, and there was some other feedback that the drivers are rude, and there was some other feedback people was struggling with purchasing tickets, and some other time bus leaves from different location, and sometimes it's difficult for the students to navigate where it's going, so they miss the buses and all the stuff. So I raised it to the meeting. So in the meeting there was some representative from Censure, and there was one representative from university, and then I was there. So initially actually they didn't really acknowledge it, but when I gave them the timings, and on the time they checked their data, I guess, somewhere, and then they found out that one of the bus was missing, and they're also aware that some of the drivers are rude. So for the missing bus, they just apologized. Obviously, there's nothing they can do now. What happened previously, and for the what are the other issues? Yeah, rude drivers. So yeah, they said told me to give more information on the drivers, and obviously I don't know the drivers, so I couldn't give information on the drivers, but I was talking to some of the students, and hopefully I'll be able to get some information which drivers are rude, and then I can pass it to them, and they said they will work on this. Yeah.
Okay, so it seemed as though that was a productive meeting, and you're actually going to get something out of it. So, okay, positive, positive, positive. Okay, cool. I suppose the last set of questions that I've got are really to do with your work with societies. Okay, so first off, congratulations on some of the work that's been taking place with cultural societies and with cultural societies and the increase thereof. I've noticed a lot of new societies that have actually been created as a result of that. And the access to funding available to them, specifically cultural societies, to develop themselves, quickly, hold programs, events, and things. That is actually something that I've noticed amongst a lot of the international students in specifically in Medway. They really do appreciate the work that's gone towards cultural societies. So that's a side note. I suppose a question that I had was, are there any kind of like key concerns raised by societies? Because of course you have like reporting channels, you have the networking night, you have different lines of communications for societies to get in touch with you. Are there any pressing concerns or common concerns that any of them have presented?
Not that way, but sometimes students societies come just for a last minute help. So this is not concern, actually this is just last minute help, and sometimes it's not possible for me to help on that case. So there was one society just few days ago came to me with a complaint. um, I think they booked for a room, and there was going to do an external speakers event. But for that external speakers event, you need to send the details of the external speakers to the activities team at least 3 weeks earlier, so they can check it and they can let you know whether you can allow those. I mean, if you can bring that external speaker in your event or not. So there was maybe some miscommunication, or I believe they submitted the external speaker check late, so that's why their event didn't went through. So that's the complaint I received recently. And apart from these our current activities team are really great. And yeah, I talked to some of the societies, and they're really happy with the current activities coordinator as well. So yeah, I think we are good now, but previously the position was vacant for a while, so some of the students got respond late. But apart from these, I haven't heard any other issues. But again, if you know that there's any issues going on, then let me know, and obviously I'll work on this.
Okay, well, since we've entered this avenue, so I know one of the things that you worked on was, of course, the training program for societies and committees and all of them to be able to, actually run. I suppose my question is, how can you draw more attention to this external speaker thing? Because I did a bit of a survey, and hence why I asked the question, and I'm glad that you gave that specific response. The common trip up a couple of different student group leaders have indicated is their challenges with this external speaker policy. So from their perspective, they kind of believe that they don't, like, it wasn't made explicitly clear to them that that's what needed to happen. So I suppose my question is, how can you draw more attention to this in the training materials that you've created and provided for student groups?
Um, Here, maybe I'll have a different answer, because I did even, I run societies when I was a student. So the thing is, I think the group leaders need to pay attention to the training. Everything is in the training modules, all the informations. And if they don't pay attention, and if they want to blame the staff, it's not really acceptable, because it's in the training. And if you miss it, what can I do on that situation? And to get their attention, maybe what can I do? I can personally tell them just this is the rules and policies, but they can also see it in the training modules. What do you suggest? How can I improve it? Do you have any suggestions for me?
That's an open-ended question. Um, well, I suppose it's something that you can just kind of review over time. I mean, I know the whole student group thing is a bit, I don't say volatile, but it's dynamic. It changes a lot, and especially when you're having different student leaders come quite regularly, quite frequently. You don't want to have to repeat yourself 1,000 times. So, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. Yeah, I think a lot of their queries will probably more to do with the period. I know the period is fixed. It's 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks. What can we really do about that? But I think something that came up was, how do I explain this? It seemed the whole process being kind of, I don't know, biased slash rigged against certain societies. For instance, let's say you have a society that has an external speaker, and the purpose that society has, I don't know, a particular set of ideologies or whatever. If, for instance, you had an external speaker who came to discuss those things, they can't outrightly say that obviously they're not trying to promote a certain kind of thinking, because that's the point of the society. But that's just food for thought. That's just food for thought. That's not really a pressing issue at the moment, and doesn't really have any bearing on you and your work. Okay, cool. Then in terms of things like activities committee, because I know that is something that is to do with societies as well, is there anything that exists in terms of, I don't know, monitoring or facilitating the running of activities committees and things to do with that? I know it has to be, student focused and stuff, but are there any structures that are on your side that kind of regulate how they happen?
Yeah, so We have, I think, 3 meetings in our calendar for the whole year. So basically, the new society applications or funding applications, everything are open for 3 particular time, and the timings are listed on the website as well. So after when activities team receive new application or funding application and all the stuff, then they send it to the activities committee, and activities committee are consist of student leaders who are leaders of different societies, and is led by one student union officer. So this year I'm the activities committee chair. So currently we have 5 student activities committee member, and after we receive after the new application window closes, then we have a meeting, and obviously all the application comes here, even the funding and even sometimes reviewing of the existing society and all the stuff. And then we, based on the information we get, we do quick discussion over there with the activities committee member, and then we decide on whether to approve the new societies or disapprove the which are not active. Yes, and it goes, I mean, it happens in a democratic process, and everyone has a vote, and then the decision is made, and it's been communicated to the students as well. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice to know. Well, yeah, there's got to be a process for everything, so that's interesting. And seeing as you're the society's guy, you're the person I'm going to ask about those things. Okay, I suppose this is going to be my final question, still related to societies and activities committee. So obviously there's one in Greenwich because that's important. And there's also one in Medway. And I was thinking, I know, for instance, Attica is the Medway kind of lead officer. So of course she was at, those networking nights and stuff that were happening in Medway. But do you think it would have been beneficial for you as somebody who is focused on societies to be at those events as well?
I think this is echoing. Yeah, I think it will be beneficial, but obviously our workload not always allows us to be in different places at the same time. And obviously, since we have a designated officer, Atika is the lead officer from Medway, so it make more sense she's in all the forums over there. But yeah, obviously it will be really helpful, I guess, if all of us can go, but we can't go because our diary is always booked with so many other stuff. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, that's all of the questions I have for you. Thank you for letting me pick your brain. So yes, are there any questions that you might have for us or anything like that?
Not really. Thank you for your time, both of you. And
Wonderful.